Hello, men. I want to talk to you today about the contrast principle and how that applies to dressing better. Now, I'm sure if you spent any time studying influence or studying marketing or copywriting or sales or really anything where you're trying to impact the way that other people respond, then you've probably heard of this idea of the contrast principle. However, if you haven't, let me give you kind of a basic synopsis of it. Let's suppose that you've got 3 buckets of water. You've got one in the middle that's room temperature, one on your left that is going to be extra cold, one on your right that's going to be extra hot. You take your hands and you put them in the cold and the hot water. You let them get kind of acclimated, and then you take your hands and you put them in the room temperature water. What do you think you're going to feel? Now, the one that's in the cold water is going to feel like that room temperature water is super hot, and then vice versa for the one that's in the hot water. What's interesting is that the objective temperature is the same for both. Both hands are in that room temperature water, but it's because of the contrast or because of the temperature that those hands are used to that they're going to feel different. Makes sense, right? The strongest way that this applies to your clothing is related to where you dress as far as how you fall within the hierarchy of your tribe. And regardless of whether or not you think there's a hierarchy within your tribe, there probably is one. Maybe some that's really hard and established, or it may be something that's just kind of a soft hierarchy. There's going to be people at the top who are the leaders, the rock stars, the people that everybody wants to emulate. There's going to be people in the middle, and then there are going to be people in the bottom. Now, one thing that most men are kind of at least subconsciously aware of is that you never want to overpromise, so you never want to dress like you're up at the top, but then underdeliver. If you've taken my stylish storytelling course, then you understand that this applies specifically to the concept and the virtue of mastery and how mastery can be demonstrated through your clothing. But if you think about it, okay, I've got a brother who's a fantastic snowboarder. When I go snowboarding with him and his friends, they can dress in a way that's very attention-seeking, it's very loud, and it's very rakish. It's a way that they can demonstrate their mastery or even the level of mastery that they have within their sport of snowboarding. Now, because these guys have a skill level that allows them to actually receive positive attention when they do get that attention, it's a good thing. If I were to dress like those guys, and then I'm up on the mountain, I just look like a poser. At the same time, I'm good enough on a snowboard that I don't want to dress like I've never been there before, because that's just signaling that I'm X-Tribe. That just signals that I'm brand new and that I don't have any skill set, and so I'm not going to be taken seriously to the level of qualifications that I actually have. It's all about finding that right balance. One of the ways that I've thought is a good way to compare this is the idea of a chessboard, because so many men, for fear of not wanting to look like they're, over-promising and under-delivering, will significantly downplay where they are and how they look. And if you think about it, look around in your office. How many men look like they just barely meet that minimum standard of what's acceptable? The reason why they don't want to dress any better or dress in a way that garners any more attention, even if it's positive attention, is because they're worried about what the expectations are going to be of them because they have this extra attention on them. So going back to this chess analogy, what's the most basic piece? It's the pawn. And how do you distinguish between the different pawns? You don't. Now, obviously, the two tribes are still there. You have your black pawns and your white pawns, and so there's still a differentiation there. But there's no way to tell the difference between any of them because they all look and function exactly the same way. However, when you get up to different pieces, you get to bishops and rooks and kings and queens, not only do they function differently, do they do different things on the board, but they look different. And so if you think about how you are, the majority of men want to look like pawns because they feel like that's as much as they are, that's as good as they are, is pawns on a chessboard. They may resent, they may aspire to be like the kings or the queens or the rooks or the bishops. They may not. But the thing is if you dress like a pawn, then you're going to be treated like a pawn. Now, just because you may not be to the level of being a queen doesn't mean that you can't dress better. That doesn't mean that you have to look like you're everywhere else. Once you start to dress aspirationally, then that's where you're given the opportunity to be treated differently. And so a lot of times guys they'll think this. It's like, okay, well, I know I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I know that if I kind of underpromise and overdeliver, then in a lot of ways that can be a good thing because this guy's going to underestimate me, and then he's going to think really positive things because I've blown his initial impression of me right out of the water. The problem with that is that our brains are designed for shortcuts. And you don't want to suffer, you don't want to handicap yourself by the way that you dress. You don't want to look like a pawn and have that lead to the fact that you're always only going to be treated like a pawn, especially if you have more ambition, a better skill set, more confidence, something else that's going to help you accomplish your goals way more than just being a pawn will ever do. And so use the contrast principle to your advantage. Obviously, you still want to dress your tribe. Black pieces should look like black pieces. White pieces should look like white pieces on the board. You don't interject greens or blues or anything else. And I mean, obviously that's simplistic, but you still need to dress your tribe like we talked about in a previous video. But at the same time, understand the way that aesthetics work within the hierarchy of your tribe and use those as a way to leverage yourself, your own expectations, and then the expectations of other people within your tribe as a way to help you climb higher within that hierarchy, as a way to help you accomplish more, and as a way to help you be better. I hope you guys like this. Leave me a thumbs up, and I would love to hear a comment below. Tell me about your tribe. Tell me about how dressing differently and using this contrast principle will help you within your tribe. One more thing before you go. I'm not the guy who invented the contrast principle. You've heard it multiple places. I heard about it when I was reading this book. It's called Influence. And I've been listening to this. It's a fantastic book. It's definitely one that I think you guys should check out. If you're interested in listening to this, I can get you a copy of it for free. There's going to link down here for you below. It's on Audible. Not only do you get to listen to the book for free if you've never used Audible before, but then you also put a little bit of money back in my pocket so I can keep creating these videos for you. Doesn't cost you anything. Check it out. I want to know what you think. I'll catch you guys next time.